Hey guys, welcome back to my channel The Curious Palette, and this is Vidya Shivalingam. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. Today we are gonna make garlic knots. It's like another take on garlic bread, only much softer and way buttery. Serve them as is fresh out of the oven or with some pizza sauce. These are one of the best appetizers or sides. My family loves these and I'm sure you will too. Without any further ado, let's get started. Let's take a look at the ingredients. We will need 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour or Maida. If you have bread flour, then go for it. 2.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. You can also use instant yeast. 100 grams of butter, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 1 teaspoon of chili flakes. You can skip this if you don't like spicy stuff. 2 tablespoons of chopped coriander or parsley, and lastly 350 ml of warm water. Take about 320 milliliters of water. We'll start with less and add in more if needed later. Add in 2 tablespoons of sugar and mix it completely. Continue mixing until it is dissolved. Sugar acts as the food for the yeast, so make sure not to skip it. Add in 2.5 teaspoons of yeast to this warm water and mix it thoroughly. And let this mixture sit aside until the yeast is activated. This should take about 15 to 20 minutes, not more than that. Before adding in the yeast, make sure that the water is just warm. You can use a digital thermometer to check that the temperature is below 40 degrees Celsius, or you can also just dip in your index finger and check if it is hot or not. Now, if you're wondering why this is important, it is because the yeast can die if the temperature of water is very high. To check if the yeast is activated, wait for the water to become completely cloudy and frothy, just like the one shown in the video. We can get started on making the dough. To a large bowl, add in the all-purpose flour. To this, let us add in the salt, the activated yeast mixture, and olive oil. Give this a quick mix with a spatula just until the ingredients are combined. If you do own a hand blender, then attach the dough hooks and knead the dough for 6 minutes approximately. Do not worry if you don't have one. Your hand will get the exercise for the day it needs. So how long do you need to knead it? If you're especially going to knead it by hand, then this is going to take some time. It would take approximately about 12 to 15 minutes, and then you can go ahead and check for the doneness of the dough. If you're using the hand blender just like me, then you can see how the dough starts coming together and forming a nice round dough ball. To check for the doneness, take a small piece of the dough and stretch it till it becomes translucent, and at this stage, if it is not tearing, that means you're done. If it tears, then just go on kneading for some more time. Once you've reached this stage, transfer the dough to your countertop, dust it well with some flour and knead well. If the dough is too sticky, go ahead and add in some all-purpose flour, but make sure not to add too much, because as you keep kneading, the dough will start coming together and become less sticky. Also, if the dough is too dry, then go ahead and add in some more warm water and continue kneading the dough. To knead the dough, use your palm and push the dough away from you and pull it towards you, and keep alternating between both your hands. Within a few pushes and pulls, the dough will start becoming softer and suppler, and it also stops sticking to your hand completely. For those who are going to knead this by hand, the dough will be ready only after at least a minimum of 100 push and pulls, which means I can guarantee you are never going to overmix it. If you push the dough with a finger, then the dough will rise back. So this is your cue to stop kneading. Until then, let's exercise those muscles. See how the dough is springing back when I'm pressing it with a finger? This is what we are looking for. After which, we can stop working and let the yeast do its job. Next, take a large bowl and add in some olive oil and spread it across its walls. We do this basically to avoid the dough from sticking to the surface of the bowl. This stage where we are going to allow the dough to rest for at least a minimum of 1 hour until it doubles in its size is called as proofing. Coat the dough well in the olive oil before letting it rest. The favorable conditions for the yeast to rise are nice and warm, cozy place. If you're in a cold place, then maybe preheat your oven to 40 degrees Celsius and turn it off. Cover the bowl with a clean damp towel or a cling wrap and then place this bowl inside the oven for 1 hour. Make sure not to touch or disturb the dough until it doubles in its size. While the dough is proofing, let's get started with the garlic herb butter. Place a small pan on medium heat and add in 100 grams of butter. I am using salted butter, but if you're not sure about how much salt the butter contains, it's always preferable to go with unsalted butter and add in some salt as per your taste. Allow the butter to melt completely before adding in the herbs and garlic. Once the butter is thoroughly melted, add in 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Give it a few seconds before adding in the other herbs. Next, we add in 2 teaspoons of oregano, 1 teaspoon of chili flakes. You can of course skip the chili flakes if you do not like your bread spicy. Give it a quick stir and then add in finely chopped coriander or parsley or any other herb of your choice. After a few seconds, turn the stove off and allow the garlic butter to cool down. This garlic butter is also an amazing spread for your other breads, so feel free to make lots and refrigerate them for further use. It's been an hour since we kept the dough for proofing. Let's check on it now. Take a look at how the dough has doubled in its size. Now let's punch this dough and release all the carbon dioxide before we go ahead and roll this into a log. Transfer this dough to a well-floured countertop. Knead it one last time and roll it into a log. Cut them equally into 16 pieces. Now to do so, cut the log into 2 halves. Take one half, roll it again and continue cutting into halves until we reach 8 pieces. Now repeat the same steps for the other half of the log. If you like the garlic knots smaller, then go ahead and reduce the size. Now take each of these single pieces and roll them into individual logs. To form the knot, hold the log with both your hands, twist them around your fingers to form a loop and pass one end of the log through this loop. You can either tuck in the edges or let them be. Let's take a look at it again from another angle. Look at how cute they are. I don't even feel like eating them. Place these knots onto a baking tray lined with parchment paper. Cover them with a damp cloth in order to prevent the knots from drying. We are going to let them rest for one last round of proofing. This should take about 20 to 30 minutes until they double in size. After 20 minutes, these knots have doubled in size and are ready to be baked. Preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius. While that's going on, let's brush these knots with some garlic butter before we bake them. Doing so will give the knots a nice golden color along with imparting the garlic flavor. Place these knots in the preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 18 to 20 minutes or until they turn golden brown. After 18 minutes, remove these knots out of the oven. At first, they will appear to be very hard on the surface, but don't worry. After you apply the butter and let it cool down, these will soften up. After applying the garlic butter, allow them to cool down a little bit and the garlic knots become super soft. They are super buttery and soft, sweet, savory, everything's just perfect. These bite-sized breads are perfect for evening snacks or as an appetizer. Bake them for your parties and your guests will be in total awe. Also, beware, your neighbors might come knocking at the door. The smell of your kitchen when these garlic knots are baked are just irresistible. Oh, I almost forgot. This is exactly the same dough I use for my pizza base. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making this. Give this recipe a try and I'm sure you'll love it. Share your feedback in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you, and your feedback definitely matters a lot to me. Also, please make sure to share this recipe with your friends and family and subscribe to The Curious Palate for more such amazing recipes. That's it for today's video. Bye bye. Happy baking.